what do you call this thing? Roadmap Roundup. Contested zones are a location feature coming to Pyro's space stations, introducing FPS gameplay with various layouts tailored for this purpose. The zones will feature a progression system, interesting, requiring tokens to unlock different zones, giving access to the loot inside. Collecting all of the tokens will allow a player to open the final door and claim the grand prize. I read this and I just thought to myself, like, what? This idea of a token, right, immediately starts getting people up in arms, because what is a token? Some kind of thing that you unlock to pay more money on the store to buy some ship, right? This is not what people want. These tokens need to be something gamey, right? This whole concept of contested zones sounds like a very forced, they're trying to force gameplay, right? What the is a grand prize? No one knows. It's going to be a promo for the Saber variant. God, I hope not. So this just immediately got me thinking, right? An ISC or an SEL, a Star Citizen Live or an Inside Star Citizen, where they spoke about how they understand that at the moment there are so many features in Star Citizen which by their own stand on their own strengths, and they're pretty cool. The problem is that they're very disparate and they do not interact with one another, right? A good example is one of the recent patches, 3.23, introduced Copions. Copions were, they're creatures that can spawn on a planet somewhere. There's a mission assigned, you can go and find them, you can kill the Copions based on the current AI, setup and server degradation. They don't act very, very great like any NPC entity in the game. But they admitted themselves that this Copion implementation is very segregated from every other feature in the game. It doesn't tie into or relate to or engage with any other feature in the game. And this is my concern with these space stations contested zones. This sounds like you're just going to go to a space station, probably via a mission or something, various layouts tailored for the purpose of a feature progression system, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they don't say anything about like missions or anything, which, for asteroid bases, they say missions. For space stations, they don't say anything about accepting a mission or anything like that. So is this just going to be like a sandbox activity that you partake in to get some kind of grand prize at the end of it? But this is where I get not worried, not concerned, but perplexed is the correct word. We get perplexed when we see stuff like this, when they know that the features that they've been implementing into the game are so isolated, right? It's like bunkers at the moment are just such a separate, distinct thing. It's like you log into the game, well, what are we going to do today? I don't know, let's do a bunker. You go to the bunker, you finish the bunker, you're done. There's no crossover between any other gameplay, right? This is why we enjoy things like piracy. Why is piracy so amazing? Because you get to experience and touch on so many of Star Citizen's actually amazing features because of the way that the game is designed and the fundamentals of what makes Star Citizen Star Citizen. The seamless experience of going from your ship to hunting around a system, maybe with your buddies, spreading out, surveying places, finding potential targets, right? So you've got this, what CIG might even consider exploration gameplay, or like what we call hunting gameplay, patrol gameplay, finding a target. And then depending on where the target is, right, you could have snared them, you could have found them, caught them with their pants down, busy purchasing at a location, been camping at a zone and waited for them to land, and then done there's a whole bunch of like variety within that initial setup phase, right? Then that will lead to the combat gameplay. You're going to have a couple of ships engaging another ship. Usually it's a solo space bob with no backup, and it's a very easy bit of combat gameplay, which is kind of sad, but there is some mechanical depth in this process, because you either want to try and soft death them out of atmosphere, soft death them close enough to the ground so that they don't hard death and you lose the majority of the cargo, which is why you're doing this in the first place. There's a very good goal. Achieving that very good goal, once you've subdued the target or caught them or destroyed them or whatever it may be, that now organically leads on to cargo logistical gameplay, which is great because now you're physically tractoring cargo, and depending on where or when they, wherever they went down, this also has some variety and depth into it, because it could be in the middle of deep space, it could be close to an OM zone, and they could be bringing backup to come and assault your logistical operation while you're trying to get all the cargo out. It leads to a lot of incredibly fun and dynamic and emergent gameplay. This is why we love piracy. Once you've acquired as much of the cargo as possible, and anything could have happened, in the prior steps to this, you end up with a ship full of cargo that you now need to go and sell somewhere. So you've got trading, you've got combat, you've got, not even to mention, you've got the FPS element to it as well, because if they soft death and they didn't hard death, You now have a boarding operation to partake in. These are all very exciting gameplay loops or gameplay features that intricately tie to one another to achieve a goal. And this is what makes piracy so amazing in Star Citizen. It's probably the best space piracy, the most visceral space piracy you can get in a game. Server issues and desync aside, right? This is why we love it. You never know what a piracy hit is going to be like. It is incredibly fun, it is incredibly dynamic, and it can be challenging, but it can also be incredibly easy and boring based on the way players are behaving. Cool, great, we understand this. Now we look at something like these contested zones. At face value and just reading through this card, it really does sound like this is just another isolated feature that you will either participate in or you will not participate in. It does not have any impact or influence on what anybody else is doing, except for the fact that, let's jump over, I prepared a thing. You now have this taking place at the stations, right? First of all, we've got to make some assumptions. Are these contested zones at the stations where you call your ships, right? They just say it's coming to Pyro's space stations. So this is literally gameplay taking place within the starting zones or the so-called safer zones of Pyro. Do you remember, Nona, there were bunker missions within these sections, right? So I think you'd go sort of in here. I've got my little pen here. We can do some cool drawing stuff. There was like places in here where it was like a bunker, right? This is all hangars, right? To the best of my knowledge, there was actually some gameplay that took place in places like this, right? You had, I never managed to do one of these missions myself, but I remember that the environment itself did look like a hangar of some description, right? So there might have been like Pyro's versions of bunkers where you did, PvE gameplay in sort of like in these types of sections, maybe. I can't really remember. This over here. This section here could be part of this could be your green zone where you're busy doing shopping, accessing ASOP terminals, all this type of stuff. Obviously, we don't know the intricate, detailed layout of the system. We're just going to do this for fun. There could be some little tiny door here, right? Or some kind of access point, or maybe multiple access points. Who knows, right? And I think this is what would be key to making this feature so exciting. This here, this is your contested zone, right? This section here, we're just saying this for argument's sake, right? A feature like this, if the incentive is not correct, right? So you've got incentive. Wow, this is hard to write with. You've got your incentive, right? CIG always missed the mark on the incentive, okay? Why do we know this? Because historically, SPK sounded great, sounded exciting. People were so excited for this. I was so excited for this. It sounded like dynamic jump town, triggered at the drop of a hat based on player actions. They missed the mark because it is absolutely not worth the effort. Nobody moves boxes at SPK. Then you've got Wake of Disaster. It randomly spawns on your server. A mission will go out to the entire server and say, cool, come to this place. There's been a battle. It's a salvager's dream, right? If you're into dude, even the die-hard reclaimer salvagers barely ever went to Wake of Disaster. Getting to Wake of Disaster while there's an active salvage op taking place in your Dragonfly, your Pulse, whatever, infiltrating that operation and making out with as much profit as possible that you didn't have to spend hours and hours salvaging. This is exciting. The concept is great. Nobody goes there. Dead game. It is overs. Then there's Jump Town, right? JT used to have pretty good incentive. Now it is no longer incentivized. For some bizarre reason, they've balanced the current Jump Town values for a post 3.24 world, which makes no sense. So JT, they missed the mark. There's no incentive. There's probably a couple of other examples here that I can't think of right now. Why I think these could be amazing, these contested zones, is now you have, we don't know if it's triggered by a mission. Is it triggered by a mission? Or is it just something that anybody at the station or from anywhere else around the Pyro system, right? Are they just going to come? Like, what draws them to this location? Why would you come from here? Why would you come from here? Why would you come from here? Is this taking place all over the system, right? Is it taking place over here? Is it taking place over here? Is it taking place over here? We don't know. We've got to speculate at this point, right? Now, what gets exciting is if multiple people on the server and we've got to think about this in a server meshed environment, right? We're thinking about this in a 4.0 world where we have the first implementation of server meshing. What does this actually mean? Does it mean we're going to have stable servers with 400 players? Does it mean we're going to have stable servers with 100 players? Does it mean we're going to have stable servers with 200 players? Does it mean we're going to have unstable servers with 500 players? We don't know yet. Let's take this entire conversation and underline it with the fact that we need to just assume that money is the only way you can progress in Star Citizen at this time, right? I don't think we're going to get any crazy features that are going to unlock with reputation. I mean, this could be, right? The final prize, right? The grand prize, as they say over here, this could be related to, it could be related to some kind of reputation, right? Who knows? Rep related, item related, who knows? But I think it's going to be money related, right? We've got to assume that things will translate to money in some way. Hopefully 3.24 is pretty brutal in terms of the average earning potential of your average Star Citizen, right? Grinding out PvE content should not be the most lucrative way to play the game. So maybe this becomes more incentivized because the rest of the economy is balanced. This whole area is going to be sectioned off, right? They say here, zones will feature a progression system requiring tokens to unlock different zones. So this whole thing is going to be some kind of like zone thing, right? Different zones. Maybe your grand prize is over here. This is your grand prize. We'll draw a little up trophy, right? That's a trophy, you guys. Now what's cool about this is, in a way, you can start getting, depending on how this is triggered, which we still don't know, like what's the trigger for this, right? You could have a organic, dynamic, emergent battle royale taking place, where some people are going to infiltrate this place solo, some people will infiltrate it as a group, some people might try and infiltrate it as a whole ass fucking org, right? That would be pretty cool. Now you've got all this insane, and are there going to be PvE components here? Are there going to be like NPCs scattered throughout these zones? Is the grand prize just going to be another, Siege of Orison guy at the end with, heavy armor, and it's a unique set of armor? That's not a bad thing. We would like this to be a thing more often, right? The guy at the end of SPK, whatever. So this sounds like it's going to be heavily PvP, maybe PvPvE. We don't know. And this sounds like a very cool thing, because this is something that we've always lacked, right? What are these incentives here? These incentives are funnels. These are essentially just things that bring your server to one location to have fun, right? Play the game, use the weapons, use the vehicles, use the spaceships, use the guns, and play the fucking game. We want this to be a fun and engaging experience with a real incentive. Now, this is where my mind started to go fucking wild, right? How do you take this whole thing and say, okay, it's not just an isolated thing. This thing, now obviously, now we're going to start coping. We're going to start coping very hard. Based on all of this activity that could be taking place here, especially with regards to the fact that this is a server meshed environment, this starts to become a very difficult thing to achieve, right? This is like soloing Jumptown. This is like, the stars need to align in order for you to win this, or you just need to have the biggest org with the most people. You get this grand prize, right? Now, in my mind, this is where Star Citizen should be going. Remember, we've taken a very big unhealthy dose of copium right now. You've got the grand prize. In my mind, this should be, you pick up a data pad, and the data pad has a location. Oh my God, that's so exciting. Think about playing Skyrim. You're walking down the path, you want to go and talk to the guy at the top of the mountain, but on the way, you see a castle to the left. So you go explore the castle, you find a dead body in the castle. The dead body has a note. The note says, those fucking brigands, they stole my whole thing and they killed my wife. I will, get revenge. And then you get a quest, boop, to go all the way to this other, and you get sidetracked from your main objective, and on the way to this bandit encampment to get revenge on this dead person and save his wife, you find a dragon. And the dragon leads you off on another, this is the side track gameplay that so many games have that is just so much fun. Do we live in a universe where Star Citizen will get to the point where it is so content deep and content rich that you will be flying around the fucking solar system from A to B, distress signal, wreckage nearby within 100,000 kilometers or whatever it is. All you wanted to do was go to, let's say, the Akira cluster. You wanted to go to the Akira cluster and you wanted to start mining. But on the way, you picked up a distress beacon and you end up going here, and there's a wreck in space, a wreck in deep space. On the wreck, couple of copions. Oh my god, that's so surprising. I didn't think copions could be here. Everybody's dead. But you find a journal entry. The journal entry says we left like 1 million credits. Right? Oh, no, okay, we'll use this example for this rather. Let's go back to this. You now have won this grand prize. How do you make this interact with the rest of the solar system? A journal entry, right? A beacon, a location, right? A quantum nav beacon. The gang that you just ousted from this contested zone, or whatever this is, they were moving weevil eggs or Azoian hides or something. They leave a message saying, we got everything out. We couldn't get the last 500, 300, 200, whatever it is, Azoian hides out of the system, out of the location. If you accept this and send me 500,000 credits or 1 million credits or whatever the f it is, I'll send you that location. Cool. You're not just incentivized to do this once-off event. Now this starts leading on to something else. They generate this beacon. Let's say it was here. The beacon was generated here at this location. There's an asteroid base, a moon, whatever the f it is. And it has, in the cargo elevator, these are all features. We're not basing this in like complete unreality. We're basing this on features and concepts that exist in the game today, or at least in 3.24. At this place is a cargo elevator. The cargo elevator, it's a secret location. Not everybody can access this location, but you can because you won the contested area. You and your group, whatever it is. So you start heading over there. We'll ignore all this shit. So you go straight there after winning this contested grand prize. Now, there is a cargo elevator here with weevil eggs or Azoian hides, whatever, and you can start, you pay your 500,000, but if you sell this shit, if you're able to get in and get that shit out, it's going to be worth millions. Right? So it's high risk, high reward, but basically it's a mission. It's just a mission like any other mission. Because you won the grand prize, you get a 30-minute head start and a counter starts ticking down. Just like we've seen with salvage, illegal salvage, stuff like this. Now you can start loading this cargo, but after the 30 minutes or the 20 minutes or whatever the timer is up, the entire server gets notified of this. And bounty hunters get you instantaneously get CS3. Right? Just for being part of this whole thing. Because now you're from an LAW law perspective, you are now corresponding with this gang that just caused all this trouble here, right? Oh wait, Pyro is supposed to be an illegal system, so it's not really supposed to matter. It could be reputation based. Maybe another faction is like, oh, those motherfuckers, they've got our Azoian hides, and anybody who has a positive rep with one of these other factions, they get you as a tier 3 crime stat and they can bounty hunt you or whatever, right? But then this dynamically just becomes that more emergent and fun and interesting gameplay is being created at, right? And there's a lot of incentive now because a mission is generated for every other player, kind of like a jump town, right? But like less granular. It's more like, cool, there's a big ass box. There's 64, 8 boxes of 64 SCU. Yeah, exactly, right, Marine? This is dynamic events, bro. And to be honest, obviously we don't know what the logic is like, how hard it is to implement this stuff, but it feels like everything is so hard coded at the moment that doing something like this, even though we're just using existing mechanics that exist in the game at the moment in different and more creative ways, 12 years in and I'm scratching my head at like why we don't have this type of gameplay in the game yet. And then this got me thinking, like, you could have a location, right, randomly spawn somewhere in Pyro. Could be there, could be, could be here, could be at the station here. These could all be places that have a cargo elevator, right? Just like we've been seeing in 3.24, you've got cargo elevators literally everywhere. Imagine one of these cargo elevators. Sorry, I've got to be right back. My dogs are trying to get out. Yeah, rep gang based bounty hunting. Exactly. It's not really about good or bad. It's about perspective of, who hates who the most, right? With these cargo elevators now, you could have a place that has stock of something like weevil eggs, right? Or Azoian hides. Because I've been wondering, like, what is the origin point of these things? Like your illegal, highly valuable substances, right? What is the origin of these things? So you've got these like dodgy little Jumptown-esque type locations that exist, and somebody will say, oh, we just finished producing our shit. We took what we could. This is all left over because we like you, because of your rep. Come here and grab it, right? But in doing so, other guys might be monitoring the communications, and poof, you've got like a dynamic Jumptown on your hands. But instead of like moving shitty little maze boxes, you're moving 64 SUs of like weevil eggs or Azoian hides or something, and these become like insane fucking gold rushes that everybody gets alerted to, and it's like a PvP heaven. And then that got me thinking, like, why can't you have these cargo elevators produce, if your org controls it, you know the IFI system that they have in Siege of Orison, where you go to the IFFI, identify friend or foe, and you set it to you, right? You're the friend. So anybody in your party is a friend. All the automatic turrets will now be active and they'll protect you, and attack anybody else that engages. So now you own this facility. This facility will produce 164 or 132 SCU of Azoian hides every Friday, right? Or up the stakes, every 2 days, right? Whatever it is. Now you've got entire fucking areas that orgs will fight over because it'll automatically produce a resource or a commodity that is highly valuable and highly sought after and create the most amazing emergent fucking gameplay, dude. I don't know why this is nothing. So, all that being said, you can see how easy it is. Just from a theory, obviously we don't know how hard it is to code and implement the shit in the game. If it was this easy, they would fucking do it. We have to believe that. I think it's just a matter of resources and Squadron 42 getting in the way and all this type of thing. Just seeing something like these contested zones coming into the game and feeling so disconnected from every other gameplay loop and everything else that players are going to be doing. It feels so tone deaf. This game has got so much potential and so much incredible possibilities and such a great foundation for incredible emergent gameplay, like we've just discussed here, right? Never mind the whole, you know, can Star Citizen ever get to a point where there's enough content to sidetrack players, right? Oh, I just want to log in, I just want to go to this bunker. Oh wait, a distress signal. Oh wait, the distress signal is taking me to this moon. Oh my god, the moon's got a bunch of terrorists and, you know, space Nazis, and we've got to kill them all. And one thing leads to the other. Do we live in a world where Star Citizen will actually have that, will be that content rich? Who the f knows? So yeah, I mean, these are my thoughts on the contested zones. I hope it's not just something that is so isolated and exists in a silo compared to all the other stuff. The grand prize is control over an elevator, right? A cargo elevator that you can then come sneak a ship in there and start loading the ship. Now we're talking, right? Now we're using systems that we've been waiting for in 3.24 that can be upped and taken to another level in 4.0, right? Take all these great foundational tools that you've got, the physicalized nature of the game, and make cool shit with it. And I know that there are developers at CIG who have this exact sentiment, but their hands are tied due to certain things, be it server meshing, technology bottlenecks, tech debt, allocation of resources. We know that these guys are passionate about this game and they want to make the game as good as it can be, right? Doesn't mean that there's no challenges, because all of this that we've spoken about hinges on making money being the way you progress in the game or the thing that incentivizes players. Yes, money in the game is a great incentive, but everything else then needs to utilize money. You need better money sinks to create this desire, this hunger for players to want to make money in the first place. That balance, I'm sure they'll get it correct. I'm sure it'll be fine, it'll be great, it'll be awesome. Outside of that though, true progression, you know, in a game that is 100% pay to win in terms of purchasing power with your spaceships, getting ahead, allowing yourself to access more tools, all this type of thing by buying spaceships with money. How do you transcend this and make actions taken in the game instead of in real life more meaningful? Progression, components, right? These are the obvious ones. Gating content based on things that you can only acquire in the game. This is the type of thing that I think we'll start seeing over the next like 2 to 3 years. I hope, you know, we'll see. But yeah, thanks for coming to my absolutely trash talk, guys. I appreciate it. I want to see if I can actually take this and turn it into a YouTube video. Bye YouTube. I'll stop editing there. Thank you channel patrons and channel members for all your support. Thinking of pledging to this ludicrous space game, then use one of the referral codes on screen now for a free 5,000 starting credits. If you enjoy my content and want to support the channel beyond a like and a subscribe, check the links in the description. Consider the join button below and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/voidude or right here on YouTube for tragic live streams. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you around the verse. Cheers.